Now that our form is all created, let's move on to handling the responses. There's two main tabs for Google Forms. The first one that we've been working on is all about the questions, but now I'm going to change to the Responses tab. I can see here that my form is currently accepting responses. I can turn this feature on and off and make my form unavailable for future responses by toggling it, but for now, I'll keep it on. I'm next going to click the three dots. I can turn on whether I want to get email notifications for new responses, and I can also choose my response destination. That is where the answers are going to be stored. It's a Google Sheet, so this is going to give me the opportunity to create a different name for the Google Sheet, or if I already had one created, I could point it to an existing sheet. So I'll go ahead and click Select Response Destination. Here's where I could select an existing spreadsheet if I already had one. In this case, however, I'm fine with it going to a new sheet. It's called Wisdom Pets Adoption Application, and it's going to be a Google Sheet. It will be called Responses, so that's why it defaults to titling it like this. It's also going to help me very quickly find it in Google Drive. So if you want to see your responses, you can always go directly to your Google Drive and open up the spreadsheet. I'll click Create, and it's going to link it to my sheet and create it. I'll click the three dots one more time. Here's where I can unlink it to the Google Sheet that I just created. I can also choose to download all my responses as a CSV format. This is useful if I want to import it into another program. I can also choose to delete all my responses. This is useful if it's a test and the previous semester had passed, we're in a new semester, and I want to start over with the same form. There's some more settings for responses. In addition to clicking on these three dots and getting the form all set up, you can also click the gear icon on the top right-hand side of the screen to the left of the Send button. This is going to give me more response settings. In the General tab, I can choose whether or not I want to collect email addresses from people that fill out the form. In the case of our application, I already have a specific field for an email address, so I don't need to do this. However, if I did select it, you can also turn on response receipts, meaning the people that fill out the form will also get a copy of it for themselves. You can also choose whether or not people are limited to only filling out the form once. If you do place a check mark next to this, it does require somebody to sign in with their Google account. You can then choose whether or not people can edit their form after they've submitted it, and whether they're allowed to see their responses. These are turned off by default. So if you want these enabled, you'll need to click the gear and turn them on. Let's change to the Presentation tab. You can choose whether or not to show a progress bar. This is useful in letting people know how far along they are in the survey. It's also useful for a long survey. You can choose to shuffle the question order. If you've come up with sections, you probably won't want to do this. But if you have just a regular list of questions, you can change the order of the questions every time somebody fills out a form. Also, when someone submits a form, you can show a link in case they want to submit it again. You can also change or add a confirmation message. I'll change this so people will know what the next step is after filling out the application. Let's change to the Quizzes tab. If this is a quiz, turn on the Make This a Quiz section. From here, you can decide whether or not you want to release the grade for the quiz immediately or later. You can also allow respondents to see which questions they got right or wrong and how much each question was worth. I'm going to turn this off because our application is not a quiz, and I'll click Save on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. To get back to your form at any time, change from the Responses tab in the middle of the screen back to the Questions tab.